we have my favorite part, which is the Virtually Anything Goes question, where I get to turn the control over to Chris to ask me a question. I've asked you plenty of questions, and the Virtually Anything Goes question, if you're not familiar with it, if you're listening to this podcast for the first time, is where Chris can ask me any question, whatever he likes, on any topic, and I have to answer it. The only caveat is Chris then also has to answer it himself afterwards. Before we get to that, Chris, just for the audience very quickly, I mentioned at the start of this podcast, season 2, series 2 of this podcast is we're planning that currently. We're bringing speakers in. It will be a departure from what we've been doing so far in series 1, where we talk about live digital communications and all topics around that. In series 2, we will be looking at bringing in experts in their field, and that can be any field. That could be experts on sleep, experts on personal finances, experts on being an executive chef, whatever it might be. We're bringing those in now. If you want to be part of that, we'd love you to listen. If you want to be part of that and speak, and you think you're an expert on something in particular that would be of interest to our audience, get in touch. We haven't finalized all speakers yet, so there is still some space. And if you know somebody that you think would be really interesting to listen to, let us know as well. Get in touch. I've strung it out long enough, Chris. Let's get to your Virtually Anything Goes question. What do you have for me?
Okay, well, I gave this some thought, and I think because of the fact that work is so stressful these days, we know everything that's happened over the last few years, burnout is on the increase, stress is on the increase. So I thought, let's flip that around. Actually, it's important to have enjoyment and joy at work. My theme and your theme in asking me to come on here was talking about customer success within an event world. And I talked about Gainsight's formula, customer success. It was desired outcomes plus customer experience. One of their mission statements is having childlike joy at work. So I thought this could be the basis of my question for you. So it doesn't have to be childlike joy, but what I want to ask you, Lev, is what brings you the most joy at work?
Okay. That's a great question. I do enjoy work, and I enjoy work for work's sake because I love what I do. But it's it has to be centered around the interaction with our team here. And there will be times of intense work where everybody's head down, and there's times of during the day or during the week where we sit back and talk about maybe not childlike things, but it could be the latest AI thing, the latest GIF, the latest experience that somebody's had. And for me, I guess as having started Webinar Experts and having hired the team, it's seeing the interaction between them. And I may not always participate to the same degree, but listening in to the conversations, listening into what is being discussed. And sometimes that's while I'm doing something. Sometimes it's turning around and participating. I think that brings joy. We did spin that further, actually, just thinking about it now. We did spin that further, and we built a soapbox cart not too long ago as a team. And when I say we, it's a royal we, because I'm useless at building things, but you can think of me as the money man. But we did that for charity, and we created this soap. We had great plans. I mean, we had amazing plans. You should have seen the plans; they were brilliant. We were going to have a mold for fiberglass, and that was going to create the body of the soapbox. And we were going to build everything from scratch. In reality, we took a few shortcuts, and we bought a frame, and that already had wheels on it. We had to do a few welding jobs, and again, when I say we, it was somebody else we knew. But that was great fun, and there was getting together, getting out of the office together, and just getting hands on with things, and then but also creating content around that. That wasn't necessarily sort of work content, and just doing all of that to raise funds for a great charity, the Adullam program. So it's those things which I think are important to do every now and again. And again, just seeing the reaction when I said, we've effectively bought a team, we bought a place in this race, let's build something, and just seeing how others react to that and step up to it and see what their skills are and their interest in that place. So, it's for me, enjoyment at work is all around seeing the team do what they do and talk about what they talk about.
Well,
What
I
about
hope
you?
as the money man behind the soapbox, you ended up as the driver.
And I did not know. Again, but no, that extends into kind of, I could have put my foot down and said I'm going to drive, but actually, for me, the enjoyment was seeing the team do that. And
No, I've just
much
seen
better
them
than I could
crash.
have
I
done.
just wanted to see you crash on a soapbox. That was
Yeah. No, look, there would have been a crash if I'd driven it, probably, yes.
um, yeah.
What
So
about
so
you?
for me, I think really what I love to see when whether I'm working with customers or whether I'm working with my teams, my employees, I love to see them succeed. Going back a number of years, we introduced a KPI of looking at how many of our customers could we get promoted because of how successful were working with us. And when I flip that onto my staff and people I'm working with, then it's about actually developing them and seeing their growth. And whenever I start with a new team, one of the things I talk about is, I'll consider myself successful when I've seen you grow and you develop. And if that means you end up having to leave this company to get, the growth and see the growth that you need to have somewhere else, I'll still consider that as a success, even though I'd be losing someone who's absolutely brilliant. So building that up. And I had a great moment of joy recently where I was asked to mentor a manager she was running a few customer success teams. And I was asked to do some mentoring with her because she was fairly new into the world of management and didn't have a lot of experience in it. So I started mentoring her. We were meeting on a weekly basis. And after, I think it was just after 3 months or so, the original VP that had asked me to mentor this manager got in contact with me, reached out and said, so happy that you're mentoring this person. And we've really seen a change in how they're managing their teams and how they've grown and their maturity as a manager within the business. That wasn't my company; it was a completely separate company. But the joy that gave me was enormous. Just to know that I'd helped someone be more impactful within their own organization was absolutely fantastic. So I love growing and developing, whether it's customers or whether it's employees or people I'm working with. For me, that brings me immense joy.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, you reminded me there with that of a customer that we work with. One of their leaders in the sort of tech field had sent an announcement, and actually we were in the office when the announcement went out, and they actually brought people around as well, and so they announced that one of the sub-team leaders was leaving, and he sort of talked for 2-3 minutes about this colleague or this person leaving, and he said he was delighted. The fact that he was leaving, not because he didn't want, he wanted him to go, but because he was such a great guy, and he developed so much during his time at this company, and he hoped that he'd do well at the new company. And it's the first time I'd heard that, and you just said the same thing. Wanting to see people grow and be promoted, but if they leave, then it's because probably for the right things. If you've done everything right to get them to where they are, and I think it's a really nice mindset. So yeah, that's great to hear.
I tell all of my leaders that your number one job is to try and make yourself redundant because you've made your team so successful they can do it without you. May or may not be the right approach, but actually I think that's really successful in developing your teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Brilliant. Chris, thank you for that question. I had to think a little bit, but and thank you for sharing your insights on this episode. It's been really fascinating to hear. I think it's really refreshing to hear as well how you think about this, because it's quite easy, I think, to go down a bit of a sort of down a route that you think is right, and actually hearing a few other opinions and approaches and backgrounds on that is really interesting as well. So thank you for sharing that.